Hello, everyone. I'm Sam Fletcher. I am the instructor for this course. I'm just wanting to kind of touch base with you all and give you a heads up on the paper that's coming up here in just a little bit. So you got a little over a week to be working on the paper. It's due October 17th. Today, as far as when I'm making this video, it is October 8th. So yeah, got about 9 days, give or take, to keep working on it. So I just kind of want to run through it with you all to make sure that it makes sense, that you know what to expect in it, and then we'll go from there. So I'm just going to kind of actually read through the description of it and then give some further explanation of exactly what to expect and all of that for you. I would share it with you, honestly, but technology is not my strongest area of expertise. So I'm going to actually just make a video like this where I'm just talking to you. And then if you want to, while I'm talking through this, you can kind of pull up the information on it. You can find it in D2L under the course content up at the top left side of the page. It's probably reversing me for some reason. But anyway, top left side of the page, and you'll find it under the SLT paper. SLT standing for Social Learning Theory, basically built off of Albert Bandura's theories of how we progress and learn everything that we come to know. So let's go ahead and get started on this. So again, if you pull up the SLT and D2L, the SLT paper, you'll get a basic description. So the goal of the assignment is to gain an understanding of the theory of behaviorism, more specifically social learning theory. That's basically what you're going to be doing. There's going to be three parts. One of the parts is broken into two, so technically four. Total paper points is a possibility of 200 points. So it's kind of a bigger assignment. You'll notice that I don't have any page requirements. So there's no minimum or maximum page requirements. I did that on purpose, so that way you basically can figure out when you feel like you have answered the questions fully. I can tell you on average, most students turn in about 5 or 6 pages, give or take. I've had some students that have turned in just some stellar 4-pagers. I've had a couple students turn in giant papers. I had one student who turned in like a 20-something page paper. Don't do that necessarily unless you really want to. That's overkill for this level of class. But you can expect about 5 or 6 pages generally is what people take to kind of fully answer it all. So if it takes you a little bit more or a little bit less, that's fine. Just make sure you've answered it. Okay. So you're going to go through each section. I do require at least 2 resources, so 2 sources for research. It probably will take you more than 2 to do a really good job with this. Just a guess. For most people, that's the case. I also ask that the 2 resources be above and beyond your textbook. So you can use your textbook as one of your resources, but I ask that you do 2 additional ones besides your textbook if you choose to do that. I didn't put that in here. I need to update that, I guess, that clarification. But anyway. I'll also share within this announcement, I'll also share a link to the PCC library. I would highly recommend using them and their databases for your research. They'll be able to help you out a lot just in finding good quality material for your research. So, all right. So let's move into the body of the text. Oh, real quick too, another one. Make sure that you cite your sources, right? So there's at least 2 resources. You need to let me know when you are citing them or when you're using them within your paper. I need to basically know, if it is someone else's ideas, you got to give them credit. Otherwise, it is plagiarism. Plagiarism on this paper will result in a 0 on the paper and a potential 0 in the class. So just make sure that you give credit where credit's due. Cite your sources in your text as well as on your reference page at the end. Okay, so there'll be two different pieces there. I've had, just again, make sure it's in both areas. If you just give me a reference page, I'm going to have to dock you points because I don't know when you're using someone else's words and things throughout the paper. So make sure that they are cited properly in the right places. The overall format of the paper is going to be APA format. So if you don't have experience with that, I've included some information in here within the content on APA and what that looks like and how that works. And so take a look at that. It's similar to MLA if you've done like English classes or things here through PCC, with just some slight differences. So yeah, I'll go more in depth on that after we go through kind of the body of the paper. But anyway, there we go. So part one is basically where you're explaining to me what social learning theory is, like kind of give me the foundation of what it is. You look at the history and the background, the who, what, when, where, why of it all. Why is this the thing, basically? Okay. There's going to be 4 key components that are the mediational processes. I need you to identify those, okay, and give me a definition of them. Let me know that you know what you're talking about. And you can do this in a list format, or you can, like, again, or you can just kind of break it down, each of the pieces in their own words, and it just kind of naturally follows, okay. And then finally, list and describe at least 2 other theories or concepts. And so I give you a list there that are connected to the social learning theory, such as modeling, classical conditioning, operant conditioning, law and effect. Those will be things that you can kind of do a compare and contrast to. And again, this is just showing me that you really understand what social learning theory is and how it differs from other theories that are similar to them. If you want to go outside of those suggested lists, that's totally fine. You might, if you want, you can run it by me and I can make sure that it's a good fit. But generally speaking, like if you kind of stick with these ones, it's an easier route to go. That's why I've given them as examples. With those, once you've picked which ones you're going with, you're going to show the differences and similarities between social learning theory and each of those different concepts that you've picked up. Again, make sure you cite your sources. Okay, it's broken down point-wise by the history and backgrounds portion is 10 points. The 4 components is 10 points. And then each of the theories is worth 10 points for a total of 20 points there. Making sure you're citing your sources and everything well is worth a total of 10 points. Okay, so proper APA citation within the text. All right, scrolling down, part 2. Part 2 is worth 100 points, but it's technically broken into 2, so it's each of the parts are worth 50 points within part 2. Okay. So you're going to choose 2 events from the following list and show how each event is an example of social learning. You can choose another thing besides what I have on the list here, but I do ask that you please email me and ask me if it would be like if that would work or not, because some cases, some people think they have a great idea and then it doesn't actually end up playing out. These ones that I have on the events list are definitely influenced by social learning, and so therefore it should be relatively easy to find information on it and or to kind of come up with your own theories based off of that. Okay, so you choose 2. It could be like bullying and parenting, for example, or you could say bullying and manners or whatever. Okay, so choose your 2 things. You're going to explain and define each of the chosen events. So if you choose bullying, explain it. What is bullying? How does it work? What does it look like? And all of that. Okay. You're going to give me 2 examples for each of the things. So if you chose bullying and parenting, you'll give me 2 examples of bullying and 2 examples of parenting. So make sure that you do that. I've had some people give like 1 example and 1 example, and then you lose points for doing that. So make sure that you give 2 examples for each of the events. Again, I want to make sure that you understand what it is that you're writing about and talking about. Okay. So do that. Then, using the 4 key components, the mediational processes of observational learning, explain how each event can be ascribed to social learning theory. Okay. So with this one, I'm going to give you, so if you just did bullying, you could get a total of 50 points and you would get 0 on the second part. If you did bullying and parenting, then you could potentially get up to 100 points. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay, just for my examples. So I'm going to give you the points and you could just double these for the full 100. So the first one, explanation of the 2 events. You get 10 points for each event, so total of 20. 2 examples for each event, so again, a total of 4 examples. 10 points for each for a total of possible 20. So basically each explanation or example is worth 5 points. Okay. How each event can be ascribed to social learning theory using the 4 mediational processes. Each of these is worth 25 points for a total possible points of 50. And then your APA citations within text are 5 points each for a total of 10 points. Okay. Hopefully that makes sense. The third part, this is where you move away from the academic side of things and start to actually apply this to yourself. So you're going to identify a personal experience in your own life where you experience social learning theory. Describe the event fully. Let me know. Like, you don't have to go super in depth if you don't want to, but make sure you give me enough details that I can understand kind of what happened. Okay. tell me a story and make it make sense, basically, so I can figure out what it is that what actually happened. I don't want some like super vague thing where it's like, well, I kind of did this thing when I was younger and maybe, okay, that doesn't work so good. I need some details. Okay. Justify why your own experience is a true example of social learning theory using the 4 mediational processes again. This one is worth a total of a possible 30 points. Okay. So the description of personal experience is 10 points. Give me a decent story. And then your justification of why it is a good example of social learning theory is a possible 20 points for a total of 30 there. APA formatting and grammar are going to be worth a total of 20 points. If you need help with that, or if grammar or things like that are an issue, or spelling, I'd recommend downloading something like Grammarly or something along those lines that kind of runs in the background on your computer. It can go above and beyond what Microsoft Office will work with you if you're using those. So I'd recommend that, just for a heads up. I'd also recommend potentially having one of the tutors at PCC, or even one of the librarians or something like that, take a look at your paper before you submit it, just to make sure that everything looks good. Or if not them, maybe a fellow student or something like that. Okay. So with that, correct grammar and spelling format, 10 points. Separate reference page with correct APA formatted and correct number of references is 10 points. Okay. Let's see. On that note, again, with the formatting and everything, one thing you're going to probably see when you look at examples of APA papers is a thing called an abstract. And basically what that is it's a small version of the paper, like a paragraph or so, that explains what you're going to talk about in the paper. I do not require an abstract in this class. I know what you're writing about, so therefore I do not need that abstract. The abstract is super helpful if you're doing research, because basically it allows you to go into like academic journals and things where the articles might be 50 plus pages, and you can get a quick view of what that article will be covering and if it's worth your time to dig through that 50 plus pages of information. But for here, I don't need it. If you turn one in, you're not going to lose points. Like it just won't count toward points either. Okay, so that's something that you can just, if you want to practice, that's totally fine. But I will not include that as part of the grading process. So yeah, at the bottom there, I give you a checklist to kind of make sure that you have all the pieces. So you're going to have a title page, your history of the SLT, premise and background, the 4 components, the different theories, explanation, so on and so forth, right? That's just for you, for your own work. You do not have to include that checklist with your paper or anything like that. It's just for you to kind of make sure that you've gotten everything before you submit for your final submission. I've included links to Purdue OWL's APA style introduction underneath the paper description and within the content. That is an excellent resource for kind of digging through and figuring out how to format your work, cite your sources, and all those kinds of things. I also included a link to Grammarly, again, just if you struggle with spelling or grammar, that is an excellent tool. Even if you don't struggle with it, it's a really good tool. It helps you kind of catch things you might not catch otherwise. There's a free version, which you can download through Safari, Firefox, or Google Chrome. It'll run in the background. If you run it through Internet Explorer, you have to pay for it. Don't ask me why. That's just their thing. Okay. There is a paid version that is more intensive, but for most part, unless you just really struggle with grammar and spelling, for most part, the free version is plenty to make sure that your paper looks decent. Okay. And that is pretty much that. If you have questions as you're writing, make sure that you reach out to me and send me a message. I will do my best to get back to you right away or as soon as possible. My weekends are a little bit hit and miss as far as when I'm on or off, but during the week I'm generally on at least once a day. So Monday through Friday I'm on here for at least once a day, generally a couple times throughout the day. So I should be able to get back to you pretty quick. Again, just let me know if you have questions. I've really enjoyed reading everyone's comments and everything as in the discussions this semester. So keep up the good work. You all are doing very well. And I will potentially see you down the road in another time or another class. So yeah, good luck with the rest of the semester. We just got a